guys, today I'm going to show you my ultimate eyeshadow palette, which is actually the only palette that I own currently, but there are 25 shades, so it has everything I need, from daily to festive makeup. This is the Pro Multi-Eye Color Palette Museday from 3CE. For those who are not familiar with Korean makeup, 3CE is an extreme popular Korean makeup brand under the clothing brand STYLENANDA. Both 3CE and STYLENANDA offer international delivery, but please be aware that the international delivery from South Korea is usually being charged extra custom fee on top of a delivery fee when it enters other countries. As mentioned, there are 25 shades in this palette, and I will show you the colors one by one later. As you can see from my used palette, the shadow consistency is quite powdery and some of the colors have quite some fallout. And there is much more fallout when I use a brush than my fingers, but generally it doesn't bother me much as the colors are quite pigmented and build up really well. In color-wise, the whole palette is in warm toned. The 5 shades of the left column are all matte, which are in neutral warm brown shades. The second left column consists of a mixture of shimmery and matte shadows, which are more pinkish toned. The middle column are gold orangey toned with shimmery, glittery, and matte shadows. And the 2 right-hand side columns are some mixed shades with neutral and reddish tones with both matte, shimmery, and glittery textures. In general, the whole palette consists of all kinds of neutral toned shades, which is perfect for someone who always stick to earth toned makeup like me. So let's start to see the colors one by one, and I will start from the left to the right color. The first shade is the lightest matte shades in the whole palette. It is a yellowy undertone light nude shade, which is perfect for using as the base color. It matches my natural eyelid color perfectly, so you can't see much of the color on my eyelid, but when compared to the other side, which I didn't put eyeshadow on, you can see that this shade lightened up my eyelid a little. The second shade is a slightly darker light brown shade. It is slightly orangey and is perfect to be the transitional shade to be smudged all over the eyelids. This shade is very easy to blend and is buildable. It looks really pretty even just by itself, so if you're looking for an easy natural makeup, you can also build just this shade up. The third shade is an ashy brown matte shade. It is a perfect brown shade in between cool and warm tone. It's very neutral. This shade is also very easy to blend. In fact, except 2 of the darkest shades in this palette, all the other shades blend out really easily. And this shade is buildable, so you can make a very natural gradient one shade eye look really easily. I also found this shade a nice contour shade as well, since it's not too ashy and too orangey. This is a warm medium brown shade. It looks absolutely yummy on the eye. It's like a well-made latte, but this shade has relatively more fallout than the previous shades, so remember to tap the brush before application. The last shade on the first column is a typical chocolate brown. This is one of the 2 shades I said that are not easy to blend. You can see even on my arm, the color is quite patchy. It wasn't easy to blend with my fingers, so I blended out with brush. It just really needed to take time to blend out. Moving on to the second left column, the first shade is a shimmery cream shade. It looks pinkish on the pan, but in fact it is rather white on the eyelid, which makes it a really good shade for putting in the middle of the eyelid or on the front of the eyes for highlighting. Then it is a shimmery dusty pastel rosy pink. This color is so beautiful, like a toned down strawberry milkshake kind of shade. There is very tiny glitter in it, and you don't really see the sparkle unless it's caught the light, and which makes this shade so spectacular. And then it is a shimmery, not really metallic, but it has the metallic kind of buttery texture. This color looks lighter on the eyelid than on the pan. It is quite subtle if you want something for shimmery sparkle for blending or highlight. This is an absolutely gorgeous shimmery coral color. This is the first shade that is not super neutral or subtle. but it is in the right amount of shimmer and coral. So if you want something pop, you can use this shade in large area and build it up with more other reddish shade. Or if you want something subtle, you can also blend this color out with some other matte brown shades. The last shade on this column is a reddish medium deep brown. It contains a small amount of tiny sparkle, and that's what makes this shade so pretty. The first shade from the middle column is a shimmery white gold shade. This color is one of the shades I use the most. Mostly I apply on the middle of my eyelid or in the front of my eyes for highlight. And then we have this typical shimmery gold color. Whenever I'm going for that kind of sunset glow or sun-kissed makeup, there's no doubt I would reach for this shade. The middle shade is the most orangey shade in the whole palette. It looks like plain orange matte color on the pan, but it looks more like an orangey brown on the eyelid, so it's not a difficult color to use for daily makeup also. Then we have this more toned down orange brown shade. If you like very warm tone brown makeup, this is the perfect brown for blending or even to use as a base. The last shade in the middle column is another gold shade. It looks really similar to the second shade in the same column, but if you compare, you can see that this shade is tiny bit more yellowy, so it's more like a toned down yellow gold. This super light pink color is made of who has a more pinkish skin tone for base color. As the very first shade I showed you and the palette matches my yellow skin tone, I think this pink shade would match perfectly who has fair light skin with pinkish undertone. This looks very similar with other browns. It is a muted matte light medium brown with very slight pink undertone. In fact, I love to swirl my brush in this shade and the previous light pink color to mix up a brownish dusty pink shade to use as a blush. I know there are lots of similar shades in this palette, but this gold is lighter than the previous two yellowy gold, but more yellow than the white gold shade. On the eyelid, this shade is quite muted, so when I look for something less gold but not white, this is the option I go for. This is one of the few colors in this palette that is relatively playful. I love this shade a lot. It is a salmon pink shade with a very fine gold sparkle in it. It's exactly what I would want to wear for Valentine's Day, like those kind of romantic shade I could think of. This golden brown shade is almost metallic. It has the creamiest, the most buttery texture throughout the palette. The gold shimmer in it catches the perfect reflection and is one of the shades that I will reach my hand on when I go for sunset or sun-kissed makeup. And the first shade of the last column is a matte muted banana shade. It would be a good base color if you have lighter yellow skin tone than mine. I know this shade looks really familiar with the shimmer salmon pink shade from the previous column, but this shade actually is much more red than that one. As you can see, it is quite much more red, and instead of that romantic kind of feeling, it's more like a sexy, fiery kind of vibe. Then we have this shimmery latte brown, which we have a matte latte brown before, and it's like the shimmery version of that. And the second last shade in this palette is a shimmery milk chocolate brown. As like the previous color, we have the matte chocolate brown, and this is kind of a lighter shimmer version. And finally, to our last color, we have quite a dramatic deep brown. This matte deep brown has some very big greenish yellow sparkle in it. It is truly a very unique shade, but it is also the shade that I talked about that is really hard to blend. Yet I usually won't put this shade all over. Instead, I tend to use it as an eyeliner guide or the color to smudge out on the eyeliner, so it doesn't bother me that much that it couldn't blend. But truly, the sparkle in it makes this color like much less boring than just a deep brown. That's all of the 3C Pro Multi Eye Color Palette. Personally, despite the palette is quite pricey, I would recommend it if you would like to invest on something which is an all-time palette. So if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe before you go. See you in my next video. Bye!